Hi, and welcome to my channel. Today I'll be giving a brief overview of the European Parliament and its functions. The Parliament is an EU institution that has a few main tasks. First of all, it participates in the process of approving EU legislation together with the Council of the European Union. Secondly, it has a say in the EU's budget that is proposed by the Commission, and the Parliament has to approve it. Thirdly, the Parliament also has to approve the Commission when a new one is selected, and if needed, it can dismiss the Commission too. Other important tasks the Parliament has include accepting international agreements and monitoring the functioning of the EU governance. For example, it keeps an eye on the Commission and other EU agencies. The Parliament currently consists of 720 members for the season 2024 to 2029. The members of the European Parliament, the so-called MEPs, are elected in direct election every 5 years. Each country has a certain number of seats for the MEPs, based on its size. For example, Germany, as the biggest country in the EU, has 96 seats, whereas each of the smallest countries, Cyprus, Malta and Luxembourg, have 6 seats. One of the MEPs will also be elected as the president by the other MEPs, and the president will then lead the parliament for a 2.5-year term at a time. Currently, the position is held by Roberta Metsola. In the parliament, the members sit in political groups that consist of people who come from like-minded national parties. For example, people who belong to the national Green parties tend to sit in a group called the Greens IFA, whereas people from nationalist parties would be more likely to sit in the Patriots of Europe or in the Europe of Sovereign Nations group. The groups are not strictly bound to the parties, and each MEP can decide in which group they want to belong to. It is also possible for people to not belong to a group, in which case the MEPs are called non-attached. Generally, decisions in the Parliament are made by voting. In many of its tasks, Parliament can only vote yes or no to approve a certain change. An area in which the Parliament has more options in is legislation. When a proposal for legislation from the Commission arrives at the Parliament, the MEPs have a chance to make changes to the proposal. This happens through committees. The committees are each focused on a special area, for example culture and education or regional development, and they consist of 25 to 71 MEPs. These committees process, for example, legislative and other proposals related to their area, and they create reports. These reports are then processed in plenary sessions, in which the whole Parliament gathers together to vote. If the legislative proposal is approved by the Parliament, it will proceed further in the legislative procedure. The next steps depend on whether the Council of the European Union agrees with the Parliament. If they do, the proposal will be accepted, but if they still want to make further changes to the legislation, it is very possible that the proposal will come back to the Parliament for a second or even a third round. For historical reasons, the Parliament has 2 locations. Most of the time, the decisions are made in Brussels, but 12 times per year, the whole Parliament travels to Strasbourg in France to stay there for a week at a time. All in all, the European Parliament has an important role as the voice of the people in the European Union. If you want to know more about the institution, I've linked some sources under the video. Ciao!